Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. In my today's video, I'll talk about one of the most commonly asked questions by candidates to me. Candidates ask that how to explain day-to-day activities in interview. And that is very right because this is one of the very important question which interviewer asks and this is very critical question which you have to answer properly. Now, if you are from non-IT background or if you are from QA or from non DevOps background, then 75% of the time you are going to spend in completing the course. 75% of the time you will be spending in completing the course learning technology. After you have learned the technology, next step is to sit for interview. And that is where you have to spend remaining 25% of your time and effort in learning how to answer interview question, what kind of questions interviewer may ask. Normally, for any of the DevOps related question, interviewers start with explain your project type of question or define your project type of question. Now, your project could be your client for which you are supporting. Normally, candidates fumble here itself and say that the project where they are involved is a two-tier project, is a three-tier project, is an N-tier project. And that is where interviewers reject them because two-tier project, three-tier project, N-tier project could be for fresher. But if you're an experienced candidate, then your project is going to be the client for which you are working. So this is something which you need to answer very carefully. So now, if you are if you are someone who is having X years of experience, then your project is going to be the client for which you are working. For example, if you're working for TCS, Infosys, IBM, and your client is say Sony or Ericsson or some other, then that client is your project. That is the thing which which you should answer. You should say the project which I am involved in at this point is Sony. Now, the next follow up question comes walk us through day to day activities or what kind of work you do as a part of Sony project, being a part of DevOps team in Sony project, or what are your roles and responsibilities in your project, whatever the question be. But intent is to understand tasks that you are involved in as a part of this project. And that is where you need to talk about number of different tools which you do have experience in. You can start with some of the most commonly used and important tool which is available in market. You can start saying that you do have experience working in Kubernetes. You can say that you have experience in creating Kubernetes cluster, in managing Kubernetes cluster. You can also say that you have experience working on deployment in Kubernetes cluster. And if you are experienced, then you can say that you have experienced working on or setting up proof of concept in Kubernetes. You can say, you can give a number of different examples which you have invested your time working in proof of concept. You can say that you have set up the architecture by means of which you are able to properly analyze security on your Kubernetes cluster. You can say that you have ensured that the MTLS, mutual TLS in Istio is properly organized and is well suited for your company. And this you have tested in the proof of concept. Another thing which you can talk about is you have your company might be deploying the setup or performing the deployment in Kubernetes cluster by some manual means. You have done the POC, proof of concept, on GitOps to understand if that is an adaptable solution for your organization and demonstrated GitOps strategy, automated strategy of deployment to management and to different teams and convinced different teams to use GitOps strategy in their teams so that it can be utilized, it can be used by wider teams. This you can say when you do have 5+ years of experience, POC or architecture, you can talk about when you have 5+ years of experience. For less than 5 years of experience, you can you can say that you do have experience in creating Kubernetes cluster, managing Kubernetes cluster, and deployment in Kubernetes cluster. Also, you can say that you have worked along with senior team members in architecting the entire Kubernetes setup for your organization, for wider group of your organization. You have participated in POC and have worked with the senior team member to convince wider teams, different teams to use proof of concept scenarios which you have worked upon. Other than this, you can also talk about Terraform as the IAC infrastructure as a code which you have worked on. If you have experience working in Terraform, you can say Terraform. Or if you have experience working in some other tool like Pulumi or maybe any cloud specific IAC such as CloudFormation Stack, you can tell that thing also. You can say that by using Terraform, you have spinned up infrastructure in AWS cloud. You can say that in AWS cloud, your dev team to have 5 microservices, and dev team used to create a Jira ticket for you. In that Jira ticket, they mention creation of resources such as S3 bucket, EC2, EKS, ECS, and you have worked on that Jira ticket to complete the creation of all those tasks. In order to create all those tasks, you have worked on module approach or module format in Terraform, and you have ensured that there is a single point of truth for infrastructure resources which is getting created across multiple environments. You can also say that you have segregated values for these resources by using separate variable files, separate environment related variable files. Also, have created multiple workspaces to segregate resource creation across different infrastructure, across different environments. You can just elaborate it, explain it well on your strategy, on all your technical activities which you have worked on while using Terraform. Other than this, you can also talk about CI/CD as the component which you have used in your DevOps skill set, your DevOps skill set. So you can talk about CI/CD as well. Now, CI/CD is very important and very critical component. Maybe your maybe the job description which you are seeing may not have Kubernetes in it, but definitely they have CI/CD. If you're applying for a DevOps related job, you have to explain CI/CD properly. Also, you can put CI/CD in your resume also as your daily task and can talk about CI/CD while you are appearing in interview also. You can say that in CI/CD you have worked on creating CI/CD pipeline for microservices, maybe 15 or 20 microservices. You can just increase the count based on your experience. You have worked on creating CI/CD pipeline, managing CI/CD pipeline, fixing CI/CD pipeline, fixing CI/CD pipeline. And also you can say that you have done some sort of POC also in CI/CD pipeline. In fixing, you can say because CI/CD pipeline is like the source code which is written by a development team, which is so as a source code which is present there in version control system. Now, CI/CD can be some lengthy pipeline files also. With time, as the module gets older, as the newer version of module comes, or the newer patch gets released, your CI/CD pipeline may break. These are subjected to break. So now you can say that you have experience working in fixing any of such failures which happens in CI/CD pipeline. As a part of POC, you can also say if you have experience more than 5 plus, then you can say that you have worked on doing some proof of concept in CI/CD pipeline. You can say that initially your pipeline was running for more than 30 minutes, because of which the release process was getting delayed. Even the developers were worried because of long time which pipeline was taking to complete. You have done a POC. With your POC, you have you understood that the reason behind or the best mitigation plan which you can come up for long duration pipeline is or long running pipeline is to cache the pipelines, because of which you were able to reduce the total duration from 30 minutes to 10 minutes. This helped in reducing the total release durations, and also it saved lots of time for developers and organizations also. This helped your organization to enhance their strategy on pipeline deployments. You can say this. So now, if you're 5 plus, you can talk about POC, you can talk about creating, managing, fixing pipelines. And if you're lesser than 5 years, mostly remain restricted to creating, managing, and fixing pipelines. Also, once you talk about CI/CD, there could be some follow-up questions, and you have to be ready with that. There could be follow-up question which says, "Can you just explain about flow of pipeline which you have created?" That is where you have to talk about all the stages which you have created as a part of your pipeline, which includes static code analysis, build process, container scanning, CI and CD integration, which you have to explain and you have to talk about. You have to be ready with all the follow-up question which comes there. Now, after CI/CD, you can talk about Git as the version control system. Here, you can talk about various sort of workflows which you have created, Git workflows which you have created, which you have worked on. Also, you can talk about the permission boundary which you have suggested and have implemented for your organization. This is there for both for less experience as well as for more experience, because there are a number of wonderful videos available on Git. There are a number of documents also is there in internet for Git, which helps anyone to be ready where to in understanding Git workflow, in understanding how to set up the permission boundary. You can talk about permission boundary in more detail, mentioning that you have worked along with different teams, you have grouped together a number of different team properly so that you can apply some sort of permissions on a group as a whole and implement least privilege concept for your organization. Least privilege concept is implementing least privilege concept looks very easy, but it's very time taking in and in and it needs lots of effort to implement it properly. Sometimes in organization it takes months for least privilege concept to be implemented. Also, you can talk about some branching strategy which you have worked on. You can talk about various types of branching strategy which you have implemented for your organization. Different types of branching strategy such as trunk based branching strategy, such as GitHub branching strategy, such as GitLab based branching strategy, which you can talk about in your experience. Also, if you have more experience, more than 5 years of experience, then you can talk about some configuration management tool such as Ansible and put it in your resume also. Also, you can talk about some observability related tools such as ELK Stack or Prometheus or Grafana as your experience. In your experience, you can explain this also as a part of your experience. So yes, these are the things which you need to just prepare, be ready with, prepare properly, and always keep in your mind while talking about your project. Do not mention 2 tier, 3 tier, or n tier experience. Mention about the project, the client with whom you are working. If you are in a service based company, then talk about the client. If you are in a product based company, then talk about the platform which you are working in. Now, now interviewers, the major problem is interviewers won't provide a direct feedback to you. They will say that HR will get back to you with the feedback. So you never get to know what the reason being your rejection. But the primary reason is not able to explain your project, not able to explain your daily tasks properly. Shaping your project, sharing your project knowledge properly is the biggest clue here, which you need to follow to get a job in DevOps. You can say, especially if you're talking about project, then for example, if you're working for a banking organization, for example, if you're working for a banking organization, then in banking organization, for example, if you are working for a banking organization and it's a product based company, then the banking organization is having a number of different business units. There could be core banking, there could be loan, there could be credit department. Now, there will be developers. There will be developers who will be a part of, who will be involved in developing each business unit. Now, you being a DevOps engineer will be supporting these developers in completing whatever they need to develop the setup, develop the application for each of the business unit. So in this case, developers are your client. This is how you need to explain it in interview also. Now, interviewer may also ask you the challenges which you have faced and how did you overcome those challenges while working on these sort of scenarios. So you can talk about the challenges such as in Git. In Git, you can say that while looking for branching strategy, There were many challenges. There were some major challenges which were identified, and I have to work with different teams. I have to work with work on different architecture to figure out which is the right one, which is the right fit for my organization. For that, I have to convince multiple teams. I have to do lots of proof of concept, and finally I came up with an architecture which suits well to my organization. This is how you have to express your day-to-day task, your challenges which you have faced while working on those daily tasks to interviewer. And if you're doing this, I guarantee you, you will be able to crack DevOps interview pretty much well. I hope this video will provide you some insights and you will be able to definitely crack interviews in DevOps. You can just put any of the questions which you have in the comments below so that I get to see those comments and I can just provide you better insights based on all my experiences which I do have. And if you feel as if this session could be helpful to others, share it with others so that even others can get advantage out of it. Thank you everyone for watching.